but we as a continent must now define ourselves.
In the news, Osibanjo arrives Ikene for APC membership revalidation. While I met APC governors, Fani Femi Kayode explains. Across Africa, World Health Organization worried over South Africa vaccine rollout halt. And on the international scene, coronavirus is unlikely to have leaked from China labs, says the World Health Organization. In business, African Development Bank to assist West African countries deliver on carbon emission reductions. And on the entertainment scene, Mary Wilson, co-founder of the Liberia Supreme, dies at 76. And in sports, Egypt's Maya Sherif breaks record at Australian Open. Details shortly. Hello and welcome to TOS TV, your digital first Pan-African news network. I am Musa Azeh Isesele, and this is TOS News 360. Former Nigerian Aviation Minister and chieftain of the opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP, Femi Fani Kayode, said his meeting with leaders of the All Progressive Congress, APC, was in national interest. Fani Kayode met separately, then together with Governors Yahaya Bello of Kogi State and Malamai Malabuni of Yobe State, who chairs the caretaker committee of the APC on registration and revalidation of party members at a guest house in Wuse, Abuja, Nigeria's capital city. Many believe the meeting could signal part of the process for the former minister, a staunch critic of President Muhammadu Buhari, to return to the ruling party. But Fani Kayode in a Twitter thread said the meeting was beyond politics, and it amazes me that some people should feel that it is wrong for me to sit with other leaders in the country to discuss issues which touch and concern the national cohesion, future, and stability of our country, he said. He went further to say this is a time in which we must set all our differences aside, build bridges, and come together as one, lest our country drifts into fratricidal butchery and civil war. He said it is right proper for them to talk and to attempt, to join hands across political, religious, and regional lines to save Nigeria. The former minister said, and I quote, "He will never compromise or jettison his core fundamental principles for any reason, and I stand firmly on my honesty-held opinion that we need to enthrone equity, justice, and fairness in this country for it to survive." Vice President Yemi Osibanjo on Tuesday in his hometown Ikene, Ogun State, is set to participate in the membership revalidation exercise of the All Progressive Congress, APC. Osibanjo's spokesman Laolu Akonde disclosed this in media advisory issued in Abuja. The Vice President will be received by Governor Dakpo Abiodun of Ogun and other party functionaries and members in the state. President Muhammadu Buhari also recently in Dara, Katsina State, revalidated his APC membership status. The Nigerian Army has appointed Brigadier General Mohammed Yerima as its Director of Public Relations. Yerima, who is expected to assume office on Wednesday, February 10th, takes over from Colonel Sajay Musa, the acting spokesman who was redeployed to the Nigerian Army Training Center, Kontagora, in Niger State. It was gathered that until his appointment as the new Army spokesman, Yerima was the Deputy Director, Reserve at the Defense Headquarters. Yerima was Public Relations Officer for the Nigerian Army Officers' Wives Association, Office of Chief of Army Staff 1994, Spokesperson, 81 Division from 1995 to 1996, and PRO Nigerian Defense Academy 1996 to 2000. He was also military spokesperson for the United Nations Mission in Sierra Leone, 2000 to 2002, PRO to Chief of Army Staff, 2003, and PRO to Chief of Defense Staff, 2005. The Ondo State chapter of the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives is currently mobilizing to embark on an indefinite strike action over decision of the state government to pay half salary for the month of November 2020. They kicked against the 50% salary paid to them by the state government. Some of the nurses and the employee of the state government said they got 18,000 naira as salary. The meeting, however, ended in a stalemate as the nurses passed a vote of no confidence on their leadership. They said they cannot continue to work on empty stomach until all their allowances are paid. The personal assistant to Taraba State Deputy Governor Alaiji Balabala has been reportedly abducted by gunmen. A family member told newsmen that Bala was kidnapped at his residence in the Sambo Gari area of Jalingo at around 1:30 a.m. on Tuesday. The source revealed that the gunmen stormed the area, releasing sporadic shots for almost 30 minutes before running away with him. The source revealed that the kidnappers are yet to communicate with members of the family for any reason or for any form of ransom. This is your digital first Pan-African network, TOS TV. You are watching TOS News 360. Up next, developments across Africa after this break. Do stay tuned. Thank you so much for staying tuned. The World Health Organization, WHO, has warned against jumping to conclusions about the efficacy of coronavirus vaccines. This is after a South African study suggested that the AstraZeneca jab was less effective against a local variant of the virus. But experts are hopeful that the vaccine will still be effective at preventing severe cases. Head of WHO, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, said data used in the study was from a limited sample size and the participants were younger and healthier. It is important to determine whether or not the vaccine remains effective in preventing more severe illness, he said in a statement. Boy acknowledged that manufacturers of vaccines will have to adapt to mutations of the coronavirus. Meanwhile, a top South African epidemiologist is suggesting a slow rollout of the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. Salim Abdul Karim's call follows suspension of the vaccine in South Africa. A study by scientists in the southern African nation showed the jabs failed to prevent mild symptoms and moderate infection from the variant, prompting the suspension of the inoculation.
What we've proposed is a two-stepped introduction process of the rollout. The first step, we would vaccinate about 100,000 people or so to monitor what the hospitalization rates are. It'll probably take us a few weeks to do that. And while we are rolling out the vaccine and collecting that information on hospitalization, we'll be able to assess whether to simply continue the rollout with the 1.5 million doses we have, or whether we need to stop the rollout of the AstraZeneca vaccine.
Health Minister Zweli Mkhize said it's a temporary issue that we have to hold on AstraZeneca until we figure out these issues. It's a move residents are not happy about in the face of vaccination delays. The 1.5 million AstraZeneca vaccines, which will expire in April, will be kept until scientists give clear indications on their use, the health minister told reporters on Sunday. Mozambique's newly appointed head of the military, Eugenio Useno Musa, died on Monday after contracting COVID-19. He died while undergoing treatment at Mozambique's biggest health facility, the Maputo Central Hospital. It is less than a month after he took office as he was sworn in as Chief of the General Staff on 20th January. Before assuming the post, he was in charge of operations at the so-called Northern Theater of Operations, whose mission was to combat Islamist militants in the gas-rich province of Cabo Delgado. He told the military parade last month that 2021 would be a decisive year in combating terrorism. Now away from COVID-19 matters, Liberia Supreme Court has upheld a lower court's guilty verdict against a former defense minister, Brownie Samukai, for misusing soldiers' pension savings funds amounting to nearly $1.2 million. Samukai and 2 others working under him were found guilty of unlawfully withdrawing money from unintended purposes. The court has ordered them to restore the funds or go to jail for 2 years. The 3 had argued in court that the withdrawals of funds were made on orders of former President Helen Johnson Sirleaf, but in the opinion of the court, the men should not have implemented any unlawful and unconstitutional orders, if at all they were ever issued. The court told the trial to restore the full amount in 1 year with a mandate to return half in 6 months or go to jail for 2 years. The European Union has joined the U.S. in calling for the withdrawal of Eritrean troops from neighboring Ethiopia's Tigray state, the presence of who it said was fueling the conflict in the state. In a statement, the EU said it remained very concerned by the tragic humanitarian crisis unfolding in Tigray and urged Ethiopia to ensure unrestricted humanitarian access as well as protection of civilians and refugees. In response, Eritrean Information Minister Yeman Meskel called the statement appalling for the fundamental issues that it glossed over. The camp, together with the Shimelba camp, was home to more than 20,000 Eritrean refugees, but it is now inaccessible. Ethiopia's refugee agency had earlier said that sporadic shootings and remnants of the TPLF fighting in guerrilla tactics have made it difficult to reach the two camps. Hundreds of migrants rescued off the Libyan coast in the past few days have arrived in Italy, where they disembarked on Monday. The NGO SOS Mediterranean said the 422 migrants were rescued by their ship, Ocean Viking, during several search and rescue operations in the Mediterranean Sea between February the 4th and 5th. The NGO said a small number of the migrants, who are mostly from sub-Saharan Africa, initially tested positive for COVID-19 when tests were administered by the crew on the ship after being rescued. They were isolated on the aft deck of the ship while at sea. Italy granted permission for the SOS Mediterranean vessel to enter the Sicilian port of Augusta, and the Ocean Viking reached Augusta on Sunday night. On Monday, Italian local health authorities conducted more COVID testing aboard the ship before allowing the migrants to disembark. This is your digital first Pan-African network, TOS TV. You are watching TOS News 360. Up next is stories from the international scene after the break. Welcome back. On the global scene, the coronavirus most likely first appeared in humans after jumping from an animal. A team of international and Chinese scientists looking for the origins of COVID-19 said Tuesday, dismissing as unlikely an alternate theory that the virus leaked from a Chinese lab. A closely watched visit by World Health Organization experts to Wuhan did not dramatically change the current understanding of the early days of the pandemic, said Peter Ben Mbarek, the leader of the WHO mission. But it did add details to that story, he said at a news conference as the group wrapped up a nearly 4-week visit to the city. Experts now consider the possibility of such a leak so improbable that it will not be suggested as an avenue of future study, said Mbarek, a WHO food safety and animal diseases expert. Mbarek said the initial findings suggest the most likely pathway the virus followed was from a bat to another animal and then to humans, adding that would require further research. The second impeachment trial of Donald Trump is underway on Tuesday as Senate leaders agreed a rapid timetable. The former president is charged with inciting insurrection in a speech to supporters ahead of the deadly riot at the U.S. Capitol on 6 January. Democrats say they have overwhelming evidence of his guilt, while his defense team claimed rioters acted independently. Trump is the only U.S. president in the history to have been impeached twice and one of only 3 to have been impeached at all. If convicted, he could be barred from holding office again, but a 2/3 of the 100-seat Senate is required to convict. Democrats hold 50 seats, and there is little sign enough Republicans will join them. In a pre-trial statement released on Monday, Trump's lawyers argued the trial is unconstitutional because Trump has left office and is now a private citizen. Water cannon and tear gas have also been used against protesters, but reports of live bullet usage are unconfirmed. Protesters are standing against a military coup that removed the elected government last week. It is the 4th day of consecutive protest. A ban on large public gatherings and 9-time curfews has been instigated in some cities, with military leader Minister Hong Leung warning that no one is above the law. The demonstrators have been demanding the release of elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi, along with senior leaders of a National League for Democracy Party (NLD). She was arrested when the military seized power. The army has declared a year-long state of emergency and claimed without evidence that an earlier election was fraudulent. This is your digital-first Pan-African network, TOS TV. You are watching TOS News 360. Up next is business, entertainment, and sports. Welcome back. Now in business, the African Development Bank, AFDB, is strongly committed towards extending financial support to the West African countries in meeting their nationally determined contributions targets under the Paris Climate Accord. According to the press release by the bank, this support involves the bank underwriting to prepare concept notes that would explore the use of internationally transferable mitigation outcomes in selected West African countries. According to the press release, the project will also leverage the active engagement of several West African countries in climate negotiations, particularly around Article 6 of the Paris Accord, and the activities of the West African Alliance for Carbon Markets and Climate Finance, which provide the opportunity to expand the reach of carbon pricing to enable full implementation of NDCs. The Federal Account Allocation Committee, FAAC, disbursed the sum of 604 billion naira to the 3 tiers of the Nigerian government in November 2020 from the revenue generated in October 2020. This is a statement in the Federation Account Allocation Committee report for the month of November 2020, recently released by the National Bureau of Statistics. According to the report, the monthly disbursement declined by 5.6% compared to 639.9 billion naira shared in October 2020 and 11.4% lower than 682.1 billion naira disbursed in September 2020. Delta State received the giant share in the month of November 2020 with a total allocation of 14.2 billion naira, representing 8.13% of the total disbursement. On the other hand, Cross River State received the lowest allocation of 2.49 billion. A total of 6.45 billion naira was deducted from the allocations of the 36 states as part of external debt deductions. And now in entertainment, Mary Wilson, one of the original members of the Supremes, the 1960s girl group that helped establish the Motown sound and propelled Diana Ross to superstardom, has died. She was 76. Wilson died Monday night at her home in Las Vegas, and the cause was not immediately clear, said publicist Jake Squats. The group's first #1 million-selling song, Where Did Our Love Go?, was released June 17, 1964. Touring at the time, Wilson said there was a moment when she realized they had a hit song. Moving on to sports, Al Allied coach Pisto Mosimane has admitted there is a big gulf in class between his African champions and European champions Bayern Munich. The Southern African was stalking after his side, who had beaten local champions Hardu 1-0 to reach the last four, lost 2-0 to the Germans in the semi-finals of the Club World Cup in Qatar. Despite the loss, Mosimane is determined to claim third place on Thursday when they face Brazil's Copa Libertadores winners Palmeiras, who lost their semi-final 1-0 to Mexico's UNL Tigers. With Al Allied falling to reach the final, Africa's wait for the Club World Cup title continues. Maya Sherif became the first Egyptian woman to win a main draw match at a Grand Slam when beating France's Chloe Parker at the Australian Open on Tuesday. The 24-year-old, who is currently ranked 131 in the world, beat 187th ranked Park 7-5, 7-5 in Melbourne. The Egyptian was delighted to get a first Grand Slam win under her belt after losing to the Czech Republic's Karolina Pliskova in 3 sets at last year's French Open. It means a lot because finally this is a barrier that I had to pass, a mental barrier, said Sherif, who has been buoyed in the past by support from fellow Egyptian Mo Salah. And that is TOS News 360 on your digital first Pan-African network. For more updates, visit www.tostvnetwork.com. Do follow and like TOS TV Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And remember to subscribe on our YouTube. TOS TV is also available on TS TV as TOS News on channel 138. Do stay with us and enjoy more programs on TOS TV Network. I am Osaze Isesele. Thanks for watching.